everyone, Ed Arango here from Ed's Auto Garage, wanting to give a shout out to our show sponsor, Arango Insurance Services. Arango Insurance Services is a full service insurance agency. We do home, auto, commercial, and any specialty. We specialize in the automotive space. So if you are a restoration shop, an OEM shop, a componentry manufacturer, we're able to insure you. It's a great time right now to have your policy reviewed, see if we can save you money, make sure you are properly insured, and at least evaluate your policy. See if you're in the right spot. So give us a shout out at Arango Insurance Services. You can reach us at our website, www.arangoins.com, or give us a call at 949-887-1274. Enjoy the podcast. We'll talk to you later.
Hey everybody, thanks for hopping on the podcast. But before we get going, let me tell you guys about an event coming up this June. It is the Friends of Steve McQueen Car and Motorcycle Show, June the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Get ready, motorsports enthusiasts. Registration is now open for the 2022 Friends of Steve McQueen Car and Motorcycle Show. The 15th annual event will return to the Boys Republic in Chino Hills, California on the first weekend in June to benefit the private nonprofit school and treatment center for troubled teenagers. This year's theme, On Any Sunday, marks the 50th anniversary of the cult classic motorcycle documentary. It was produced by Steve McQueen and features the actor, other well-known racers, and regular adventure-seeking folks joining in the early 1970s explosion of various types of off-road motorcycle racing. In that spirit, the Friends of Steve McQueen Car and Motorcycle Show offers something for everyone and is a car show like no other. The popularity of the Friends of Steve McQueen Car Show was evident by last year's success, with approximately 450 cars and motorcycles exhibited to more than 10,000 attendees. Most importantly, the 2021 show grossed $811,000 for the Boys Republic's apprenticeship program, which provides disadvantaged program graduates with paid jobs and training experience. To receive updates for the 2022 show and to register online for June 3rd through the 5th events, all held at the Boys Republic's 200-acre campus in Chino Hills, please visit SteveMcQueenCarshow.com. Let's all do our part to help the school, and we'll see you there. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Ed's Auto Garage. This is Ed Arango coming to you live, like I always do, from my garage here in Huntington Beach, California. It is April, and this has got to be the hottest day so far. Definitely the hottest day of the year so far. So, I mean, we are pushing 90 degrees here right now, and it's killing me because I'm in a garage and it's not like very well insulated or anything, but you know, it is what it is. So, so a couple of things, a little housekeeping things I want to do before we get started on today's podcast. Today's podcast is going to be really interesting. We're going to be talking Ferraris, and we're going to be talking car sales and special events and what have you. So bear with me on that. And then, but before we get going, I want to just kind of remind everybody of the upcoming June 5th, 2022, the Friends of Steve McQueen Car Show here at the Boys Republic in Chino, California. Again, it is the premier Steve McQueen show, so all things Steve McQueen related. This year's show is, as they always do every year, they kind of theme it on movies, of Steve McQueen movies. So this year's is the Steve McQueen's On Any Sunday show at the Boys Republic here in Chino, California. So if you want to find out more about the show, visit SteveMcQueenCarshow.com and learn about the show. If you want to bring your car and put it in the show, that would be fantastic. Just check online here at SteveMcQueenCarshow.com. And if you want to be a vendor, or if you want to donate to the show, anything, trinkets, giveaways for bags and what have you, by all means, Ed, and let me know. You can reach me here at edsautogarage.com at Gmail. Excuse me, edautogarage@gmail.com. That's what it is. And you can reach me there. Or just comment me here and we will connect on it. So today's guest is a gentleman by the name of William Ross out of Cleveland, Ohio. William, thank you so much for being on. And William I kind of ran into William just kind of seeing him on LinkedIn, and I was kind of honed in on these wonderful photographs that he'll post on LinkedIn. A lot of these photographs are photographs of vintage racing and cars throughout the years that I haven't normally seen in the past. So I was really kind of impressed with what he's kind of putting out there, and come to find out that he is a classic, I guess, William, would you say classic exotic car dealer?
Yeah, it's mainly, I'd say vintage and collectible. It's more the, 50s, 60s, early 70s stuff, and then getting into more modern collectible ones where they're limited production and stuff like that.
So thank you so much for being on. And why don't you kind of tell everybody a little bit about your background and how you kind of got into this whole collector car world?
Well, start from the beginning. I started racing motorcycles at the age of 5. And that kind of expanded into starting racing go-karts, whatnot. So I've always kind of been in the racing aspect of it. And just always been a car person. Had, been into cars all my life, and cars I've owned, everything like that. And it's, that adage is life's too short. If you do what you love, you're never working a day in your life. So it's kind of that aspect of it. It's just something enjoyable. I mean, there's so many great people that are in this industry. Meeting people like yourself, I love, meeting new people and talking to people, because there's so many different aspects of the collector car world, insurance, like yourself, whatnot. And it's a great industry and market to be in. It's just a lot of fun, and I really enjoy it. It's something that I've been passionate about all my life. And I've been lucky enough that I've parlayed that in to be able to support myself and my wife and my child.
Very good. That's great. So was this something that, like, was your dad also involved in cars, or your siblings or anything like that?
Well, I want to say yes and no. I mean, it's, he's a car person. I know it's kind of because he always bought these really kind of cool cars for my mom. I remember, he had a Mercury Capri that he bought her, and then he had bought her an 82 Corvette, which my older brother was lucky enough to take his driver's test in, but he had got rid of it by the time I turned 16. But he always, getting me cars. I mean, my first car was, you beat the crap out of your first car. It was a Mazda GLC, but then I got a Fiero GT as my second car. And then after that, I had a Mustang GT. So, and so he helped facilitate these things, but, as being a full-fledged like car nut, no, he was far from it, but he loves cars. He likes cars. But no, it just kind of something came out of left field, I guess, in my family wise. And just one of those things that kind of was born with it. And it was interesting because I always, especially starting out with motorcycles and just having that passion for motorcycles, and it just goes into cars and just, everything that basically had a motor and wheels on it, I'm into.
Yeah. Isn't it amazing? I mean, so many guys are like that. I mean, the same way. I mean, you can see I have bikes, I have scooters, and I've had motorcycles, and then we've got cars, and it just kind of evolves into that whole mindset of just enjoying these mechanical toys in a sense, So,
Oh, exactly. Yeah, 100%. I mean, they're a lot of fun. And again, it goes back too, because the people that are into that stuff, they're fun people, getting to know stuff, and you get to, a lot of interesting things you can partake in, events wise, just everything, it's a fantastic thing to be involved in.
So how did you start then? How did you get into basically, I don't even want to call it selling, but being involved in the transaction of kind of higher valued, vehicles. I mean, you're not dealing with Toyota Corollas, you're dealing with, a little bit higher value vehicles. How did you get to that level?
Well, I kind of felt, back in the early 2000s, late 90s, I was working with BMW. Then I moved over to Mercedes, working with them. But then I kind of got away from that because I just, got in the mindset as I can't work for somebody. I have a hard time with people telling me what to do. So I started actually kind of getting into my own, because just falling from that, because people would ask me on the side to help with something. Hey, can you help me find this car? Can you, help me with this, financing wise, whatnot, all the questions that. But then, so I was kind of just doing that on the side, because my main more focus was I actually started getting into more of like corporate events and putting on rallies and stuff like that, and kind of like team building exercises for corporations, and you're utilizing cars and for it.
Very good.
Rally race, that kind of stuff, because you get the teamwork. Hey, you got timing wise, you got to maintain this speed, all that kind of stuff. But in doing that, just meeting people, you start having conversations, and one thing leads to another, and saying, hey, can you help with this? And it just kind of evolved from there. And I really enjoy doing it, so I just kind of expanded the group from there. And so I'm where I'm at now. So it just all kind of fell into place.
So, so out here on the West Coast, there's a huge car culture out here, but in your area, is there a pretty big car culture? Is it a very little specific niche? Do you guys all know each other? Out here, you don't really know each other. You know a lot of people, but there's so many.
Yeah. To an extent, the market's ideal, kind of going back to your point is, I don't really get into like the 458s, 488 stuff like that, 328 stuff like that. The stuff I deal in is more the 50s, 60s, like early 70s. You're like a 288 GTO, F40, stuff like that is what I mainly deal in. So my market is worldwide. So it's not like I'm just in this one area here. But yeah, the area around here, pretty much, I want to say everyone knows everybody, but it's kind of like that. Was that the 7 things from what's Kevin Bacon?
Oh, the 7 degrees of separation.
Yeah, so it's one of those deals around here. So and it might actually only be like maybe 3 or 4 degrees separation. But yeah, to an extent, because obviously in the West Coast, it's just the population wise, and the market out there is just so massive. There's so many people involved in it. So here it is a lot more condensed. And what's nice with it here is I guess you got that Midwestern mentality, that Midwestern feel to it, a lot more, I want to say personable, I guess you could say. I don't know. It's just nice because everyone's willing to help everyone out here. And I'm sure it's out there too. It's that way. But there's really here, people don't really compete with each other. Everyone out here is more to help each other and just have fun and enjoy their cars and have fun with it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Here, here there's just so many people and so many cars and so many events. You could do a car thing basically every day out here. There's somebody doing something out of the 7 days out of the week, at least 6 days. You're gonna,
easily. Well, I was out in LA, a few weeks ago for some events at the Peterson and that. And, fill in some time because I came out a couple days early. I had no problem. I ended up, I hit the Cars and Coffee in Malibu. I checked out Matt Fair's garage. There was no issue trying to find something to do that involved cars. So I was busy with doing it. So that's what's great for you guys out there, is because there's always something. Here, yes, you have it, but not to the scale and scope that you guys are able to do it, because it's just, I don't want to say maybe it's the income levels and what have you, because this area is more, I guess, geared towards your muscle cars and that. I mean, there is that, exotic car and stuff, but it's just not to the size and scale that it is out on the West Coast. It's just, I mean, we don't have that type of, I guess, monetary income here that people have. So to be able to have disposable income. So but again, it kind of goes back to them too. Those people know each other, and they always kind of have to, they set things up and arrange events, everything like that together. So it's, you make do with what you got.
Yeah, exactly. When you were out here, did you happen, or have you heard, or did you happen to know anything about this this kind of low key? I don't want to call it low key anymore, but it's kind of a meetup on Friday morning that's called Good Vibe Breakfast Club. I don't know if you heard about that. So there's this meetup that's called Good Vibe Breakfast Club, and it's usually it's Friday mornings, and it's up here in LA. It's up Angeles Crest Highway, which is Highway 2 that takes you up into the hills back up there. And then there's an old facility up there that's called Newsom Ranch. And every Friday, and it's kind of an LA based event, drive. It's not like a drive, you go there. It's just where everybody meets up is up at the top where Newsom's Ranch is. And the drive through the canyon is like 25 miles, 22 miles. And it's a great drive because it's canyon, windy, twisty roads. And,
it's really cool.
Yeah. So, and it's one of those events it's one of those things that, it's like who's who is up there when you get up there. I mean, you've got, you'll have like Matt Ferraris has been up there. I've seen him up there. I've gone once. It's just a long haul for me because it's like, for me from Huntington Beach, it's like 70 miles just to get to the base and then another 22 to get back up. Right. And to be honest, by the time you get up there, there's no bathroom. I'm dying to pee or something like that, and you're going nuts. I'm like, okay, now what do I do?
Because that's on the northern side of LA. So where you're coming up from Huntington Beach, trying to come up. Well, not just their distance being 70 miles, traffic's got to be horrendous too. Just trying to get up there
on a Friday morning to get up there. You got to leave here. So I did it one time. I said, okay, I can't do that anymore unless it's another car because. I have an old Alpha, and my Alpha, just beats you up by the time you get up there.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's a great event. It's a fun event, a fun venue to go and hang out at. Hey, you got a friend?
Got my dog. Yeah, he wanted to get. He's feeling a little lonely.
There you go. So tell me a little bit about, like you mentioned that the cars that you mainly deal in at Ferrari Marketplace, and you call it Ferrari Marketplace, but don't you deal also like in Porsches and other cars and Lambos, and if they come up, or are you specifically Ferrari?
My main focus, I'd say 75-80% is Ferraris. I launched and went into with the Porsche Marketplace.com, and I have the Lamborghini Marketplace.com, and I'm trying to expand on those ones also. It's just I know Ferraris. It's what I've always known. It's just what my passion is, and with the history and background, just what I know. But it's kind of one of those things is you have a lot of people. You have those ones that they just own Ferraris, but a lot of people, majority, have different makes and models. They're going to have Ferrari, a Porsche, Lamborghini, all different brands and whatnot. So it's kind of going back, someone asking, well, hey, I'm also looking for this. Can you help me with that? Or, hey, I'm selling this. Can you help me sell that? So it's one of those situations where I want to say you stumble into it, but you're going to help the person. So it just made sense. I say, well, I guess I'll just expand into that and help, because it's, keeping everything, I guess you say, off market is pretty much how I operate. We don't really get out, and I don't post things, any like Hemmings or anything like that, or going into any of those things like that, or go on, bring a trailer, stuff like that. Everything's basically done through a database that I have and people in contacts that I know in the industry that also kind of in the same position I am or operate the same way. Because individuals that I start getting up into, I guess, can afford those types of cars, this day and age, getting really, really big into, keeping themselves anonymous and keeping their private stuff private.
Sure.
And the other aspect of it too is, once you put a car out there for sale at X price, you're almost setting the market price for what that car is. Now that car could have a massive history to it where it's got, celebrity ownership, whatnot. It could have all these factors on it that really could increase the value. So it's like you want to maximize the sale for the seller, just because of that fact is because look, there's all this history behind it that adds value to it. And so it helps create more value for the car also. So, and it says keeping the current owner, their anonymity, there, but just getting the best, highest and best price for it. It's just the way things are going now, just especially the way cars are getting priced now too. It's just getting crazy.
Oh yeah. And I assume that you're dealing with attorneys and accountants of these owners at times as well, in the negotiations.
Oh yeah. It's, I don't want to say it's not rare, but normally in the beginning, unless, ones that I have a relationship with for many, many years, I'll deal directly with that individual. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the times it's someone that I've only dealt with once or twice, or someone that's new, it will be a representative, i.e. either it's a lawyer, their person that handles all their cars, what have you.
Handler.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So and it's the way it is, which is fine because, they're the ones that actually are dealing with the vehicles day in, day out. So they have the history, the knowledge, what's been done to the car, all the information I need to start going out and marketing that car to potential new owners. So it just helps out immensely because, you're going to have owners that are big time car people that just know their cars and their collection inside out. But you have a lot of these guys that, they know what the car is. They have some background to it and history, but to really know what you need to know to sell that car, you're going to have to deal with the person that works on them, deals with them day in, day out.
So have you ever had situation? Well, I'll ask a couple questions. I'm assuming that without you saying any owners' names, we don't need to have owners' names or anything like that. But I'm assuming that you have repeat customers. The same guy may come back to you. Hey, I bought this car from you, or I want to buy this car. Then a couple years later, he wants you to sell it and find him another car. I'm assuming that happens a lot. Oh yeah. Have you ever had a situation where you find somebody a car, or you happen to stumble about somebody that is trying to sell a car and they don't really know or have a good grasp on the pedigree of a particular car, and you're kind of like, oh shit, this guy doesn't really realize this or realize that about this car, or something like that?
Thinking that he thinks it's worth $200,000, it's worth $2 million.
Yeah, well, maybe not so crazy, but maybe he didn't realize that this car was, maybe he thought it was one of 4,000, and it's really come down to like one of 400 or something like that.
Oh yeah, it happens quite a bit, and again, it's just knowing your vehicles and what you have. But yeah, that happens quite often. And what's really cool, and I'm sure you've been starting to get into it and see it with the NFTs and that stuff in the blockchain. That's really going to help in regards to especially collector cars, 50s, 60s, older ones, or something that's special, unique. Not only having the history of the vehicle, but manufacturing history. If it's one of X, and maintenance history, anything that's been done restoration wise. But then also, what events it's been in. Because you have something that's competed at Goodwood and stuff like that. The Mille Amelia, anything like that, and you have documentation, but also video of it, participate like that. That really helps too. And so that's going to help clarify that for a lot of these owners, especially the younger ones that are getting it. Because you have, individuals in their 20s and 30s, that can afford these cars now because of, internet-based companies, crypto, what have you.
They made a TikTok video and made them rich.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And they like the car, they know it, but they just really don't know what they have.
Right.
And that's where that stuff's going to help, like the blockchain to help that. But yeah, it happens quite often. And more recently, it's happening more and more just because of that fact is you have someone that, just became, obviously overnight became a millionaire, but basically in 3 months, they were able to afford, $300,000, $400,000, SF90 Stradale and, go out and have it. But they have no clue really what it is, because especially in Ferraris, I mean, Porsches too, but, like Ferraris, like, it's a lot of times you start with your base car, but what really gives value to a lot of these cars is what package wise and what you're putting onto it, and special editions and stuff like that, that really add value to these cars. And some of these people just don't realize it.
And I can imagine that Ferraris from the 50s and 60s, the amount of those cars that were being built was very low in comparison to, a volume of the cars was super low. And I would assume that the majority of the cars that were built during that era were probably, I mean, you tell me if I'm wrong, but I mean, we're probably starting off maybe to be a race car or an endurance car. And then they kind of have them to be road cars later. Is that how it worked? Or how did that whole, I don't understand that whole process of Ferrari building the race cars, and then how did they become road cars, and when did that happen?
Well, Enzo's whole thing was, he started out, at Alfa Romeo.
Yeah.
And that's, it started with the screw, his team and that stuff. And then, when he got kind of moved along and he had to have that little period, but, he was always a racer at heart, and that's what he wanted to build the race cars. But, came to realizations, hey, I got to be able to fund this. So that's when he started building the road cars. And the privateers or people that would buy the road cars, well, hey, he races those cars that he builds that's got the same engine in it. Why can't I race this? So they just started taking the road going cars and started racing them. So It really wasn't. So they weren't like saying, okay, this is specially built to go racing. I mean, they did have their special cars go racing, but almost, unless it was an open wheel F1, F2 car, something along those lines, or, prototypes, they were taking them racing because, hey, you had the same, mechanicals to it. So I'm going to go race it, but I could drive it to the track, race it, and drive it home. So it just kind of escalated from there.
Is that where like that whole homologation thing kind of came into play? Was that part of that?
Well, that's how with the FIA, especially at Le Mans, trying to keep, having these, basically building the car specifically for that is, okay, you got to have X amount of cars for that class. Normally a lot of times it was like, usually it's around 100. The big story, like with the 250 GTO, that was the one too, where they kind of circumvented the rules because they just said it was a continuation of the 250 SWB, and just with a different body shape to it, which is a complete farce because it was a whole new car basically.
The LM? The LM?
No, the LM was basically a straight up race car because the FIA, they had all their different categories for this. If you look at it now, you got your top class, the one that's going to basically win the overall, but then you got your GT categories and heavy. So the 250 GTO and the GT category. But yeah, for the homologation for those cars is, you have to have built X amount road going cars to be able to meet the requirements. So, and that's how a lot of those, came about too. And you're talking low production numbers. If you only need to build 100 of them or be it 50 of them, they would build exactly what they needed quantity wise to meet that requirement. And that's it. So, you got a car that's, such a low volume, low production number that's very special. Man, you got something that's worth some money, especially if it's got a race history to it. Like I have a 1955 Europa right now that I have available that, it was owned by Oliver Gendibien, and he's a, massive in the Ferrari lore as a race, F1, everything like that. Racing at Le Mans, racing, winning all over the place. He was a phenomenal racer.
Was he here in the States?
No, he was off over at not Austria, not French. I can't remember off the top of my head. But this is, obviously this is back in the 50s and 60s.
Oh, okay.
And again, that kind of goes back to like with the blockchain AMCs, okay, you have that history with the car. That just adds the value to it. But, that Europa, there was only 32 built. But this one is of the first 6 built, they had a different grille to it. So the whole front, the front end, it's got a, larger egg crate opening, as they would say. So right there, you got something that's even more unique and more rare because you only got 6 of them ever built. So it's, it gets really get down, you really start getting into it in regards to ownership and that kind of stuff in regards to what adds value to the car. So are they all the same? No, because they're all hand built. And
right.
It's again, each car's got its own history and uniqueness to it that adds the value to it.
And when you're acting primarily like a broker, I assume, between the two parties, either the seller and the buyer, right? I mean, is that
basically? Yeah, pretty much. Basically, that's what it boils down to. I getting to the dealer aspect of it and bringing in inventory and doing that kind of stuff is, I kind of made an attempt at going around, and it's too much of a headache. And going on the road, it's not something that I was comfortable doing. I just didn't like it. And so I like doing it how it is now and how I have it set up, because it's a lot more personable. And especially when you're dealing with a seller, you're trying to maximize with it, because if you're a dealer and you're trying to buy this car from someone to bring into inventory, you're trying to get it as cheap as possible and turn around and try and sell for as much as possible. I never liked doing that. I always wanted to get the seller the most amount of money for them, and just, hey, I get something on the back end of it, either from the seller or from the buyer or from both. It's all how we work it out. And interesting enough, a lot of the times the seller and the buyer know each other somehow, some way. A lot of the times they've caught whatnot. So so there's that relationship there too. So it's I don't like, what do they say is used car dealers are the second behind lawyers as being the ones that are, at least like people or something like that. So it's I avoided going that thing. It just I wasn't comfortable with it. I just didn't like it.
So do you ever partake or get involved with some of the auctions that we see on TV, like the RM auctions or the Sotheby's auctions or Mecum, any of that kind of stuff?
In what manner? I go to them to just kind of see what's going on in the marketplace, but to me, if you're an owner of a car and you take your car to auction like that, especially if you're a buyer and you got to pay a 20 to 25% premium, I don't see the justification for it. I just don't see what you're getting. I mean, yeah, you have a larger audience you're meeting, but I just think they're spending an exorbitant amount of money that they don't need to. And that's why you see all these internet auction sites, Bring a Trailer, Marquee, Cars and Bids with,
Cars and Bids, new one. Yeah.
And coming up and saying, hey, we're only capped, our thing's 5%, but we're capping to get $5,000 is the most thing. So if you got a $2 million car, you're only going to have to spend $5,000 as your fee. That's fantastic. So that's why those things are becoming so much more popular as compared to going to Bear Jacks and ARM, stuff like that. Is, if you got a, $500,000, $1 million car and you got to spend 15, 20% on top of what you're buying. I mean, that's a significant amount of money on top of what you're doing. And to me, I just don't see the value in something. I mean, some people do, just because, hey, you got this larger audience and it's targeting people that can afford to buy these cars. But I just think you're shortchanging yourself, because that's money you can be putting in your pocket as an owner.
Sure. Yeah. Interesting. I mean, it seems like, for, people that are buying cars, not necessarily in that level that you're selling cars, or, those that level of Ferrari per se, but it seems like a little bit more of the more basic, I shouldn't say basic, general sports cars that you see like on Bring a Trailer, for example. It seems like Bring a Trailer is kind of controlling a little bit of the pricing in where certain cars are being set, be it 911s or even lesser popular cars, maybe like a I don't know, a 944 turbo or something like that. It seems like they're kind of setting the prices on how these cars, people are buying them at high dollars on these sites.
Well, and that's the thing, because if you look at what some of the things have gone for, it's obscene. And it's funny, I know, was it about a month ago? What was it? A 2002 or three or whatever, Ford Excursion. They had, 20,000 miles of it. It went for like 120 grand. As soon as I saw what that thing sold for, I'm like, okay, you're going to see a massive flood of Ford Excursions on the site. Sure enough, in the following couple of weeks, you're seeing left, right, with 120,000 miles, this and that, but still going for ridiculous money. And you see what some of these things are selling for. It just doesn't make any sense. It's like, is this person sitting there and like halfway into a fifth of gin or vodka or something? And, it's midnight and they're like, I'm buying this car. It's setting unrealistic prices and expectations for people that also own that model, because all of a sudden they feel that their car is worth that. And then they're going to go back to, well, it's sold for this. I'm bringing trailers. Like, well, that's an anonymous, you know what I mean? I can't get that word out. Right. And doing it. So it's like, you really got to do your research. You go to Sports Car Market, place, magazine, those guys.
Martin. They
got a fabulous, that Platinum database is phenomenal for research that. And Haggerty's got a phenomenal thing on their website too, to research cars, values, and what have you, and place that. And that's giving you realistic numbers. Trying to bring a trailer's valuation and what something's gone for. That's just crazy what those things, it's obscene. In all honesty, and you see it too, because someone will sell for exorbitant amount of money, and all over the internet the next day. That's all they're talking about. How in the hell did that thing sell for that? And it's crazy. And God bless the seller. Hey man, they made a ton of money and doubled their money and whatnot for it. But it's like, what's the buyer thinking? Will he even ever break even on the car? The adage is you never go into buying a car thinking you're going to make money on it when you turn around and sell it. But still, you want to have some expectation that you're not going to kill yourself on it and lose a ton of money. But I don't know. It's just getting out of hand, in all honesty.
So I know that you deal primarily, in the older Ferraris, but 50s, 60s Ferraris. But I'm sure you have a little bit of a pulse on what's going on in that space, in the Ferrari market space. Let's face it.
Completely. No, trust me. The new stuff's phenomenal. I'm trying to finagle. Hopefully in about 3 weeks, I'm gonna get to go drive that 296, the new one, and give that thing a spin. But the new stuff's great. The technology, everything, those things are phenomenal. And not just with Ferrari though, with everything. Especially with how things are transitioning into the hybrids, and then be fully electric. There's such a dramatic change in what's going on in the world today of cars. It's crazy. It's hard to imagine where we're going to be at in 10 years to see how these cars are going to be. It's interesting to see what's happening. And the other aspect that I think is really cool though. Now I know people are on one side or the other, or I don't know so much in the middle, but taking like Everati, taking the old 911s, electrifying them. That's really starting to take off in regards to doing. I was watching the YouTube one. These guys are doing Testarossas, pulling the V12s out of them and sticking them in. And some of those companies are doing it right, where hey, they pull the motor, they put the electrical stuff in, but it's an easy swap to go back and forth. So they're not really devaluing the car to that extent where, well, you can never go back to gas power internal combustion engine in. So Everati does that. So it's great, but that's really interesting to me too, because it's meeting requirements. Especially if like you live like London, New York City's probably going to head that way. LA's probably going to head that way in some time in the future too. In regards to if you're driving into X, you're either going to pay a tax, a fee, or something depending on what your car is, or you just can't bring it in at all.
Yeah, London I think has something like that going on.
Yeah, so it's good. It's really interesting to see where they're taking these things, and it extends the life of those cars too, and it might actually make someone use it more if it's electrified than some if it's an internal combustion engine. So things are changing every day, and it's really cool stuff going on. And it's leaps and bounds. It's not a slow crawl. It's really every day. It's just it's something different, and it's really cool to see what's going on.
So I know that let me ask you this. if I mean, you kind of have an idea of the whole Ferrari world pretty dialed in. If you if somebody wanted to break into buying their first collector, or actually their first Ferrari, reasonably priced Ferrari. I mean, I know back in the day, the Dino, the 206 or the 246 or whatever, you know, they were kind of poo-pooed, you know.
Yeah.
Back in the day, they were poo-pooed, and look at them now. Now they're a $500,000 car, if not more, right?
Yeah. Same things with 308s and 328s, you know. 10 years ago, you're getting them, you know, 30, 40 grand all day long. And
I had a buddy that bought one 15 years ago for like $12,000.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, I mean, how about, what do you think? Do you think the Mondial will get there as a collector? I mean, it's got the Ferrari name to it.
Well, you know, I honestly no. I don't want to offend any female watchers, viewers, listeners, whatnot, but that's always been, you know, put out there saying that's the secretary's car. It's a woman's, you know, Ferrari, you know, and which it's got the V8, it's got the about solar power. I mean, you could have a lot of fun with it. You know, it's, you know, be a great car to, you know, putz around on a Sunday, go get ice cream with the family, whatnot. You know, it's still a Ferrari, you know.
Yeah.
Would I buy one? Sure, why not? If I get the right price on it, I have some fun with it. What the heck? But, you know, being a collector where, you know, you buy it and 5 years down the road, it's gone up, you know, value 20, 30%. It's just not going to happen. But like other cars, like the 308s and 328s, because, you know, those are the cars like, you know, I'm going to be 52 in like 2 weeks. And a lot of guys, you know, starting to buy them now. Those are the cars they knew when they were
as
young.
a kid. Yeah. Like me. Yeah, exactly.
Magnum PI, you know, watching him, you know, and stuff like that. You see it. So those are the cars I'm lusting after. So, and hey, you can afford it. So you start getting them. You know, but it's just bring a trailer. It's really going back to them, you know, just jacking the prices up where 10, 15 years ago, someone that wanted, hey, I'm going to, you know, buy my first Ferraris and I'm just going to have fun with it. You know, buy an old 308. Yeah, I can, you know, do a little work. I mean, because they're not that complicated to work on. You know, it's just, it's a motor, it's an engine, it's a V8. You know, it's, you know, it doesn't have all the computer shit on it or anything like that.
Timing belt needs to be done. And
yeah, exactly. You know, it's something you can do, but now it's just what the cost and prices just for entry is just, it's taking a lot of people out of not be able to enjoy it or ever experience the ownership of it and have fun with it.
What's your thought on even the older 308, the GT4?
Oh, I mean, again, you know, I know people, it's a small little V8 Ferrari. And I mean, it doesn't have gobs of horsepower. I think it's only like 290 or, I mean, it's not anything crazy, but I mean, it's a small car. And it goes back to that power to weight ratio. It's like, you know, Colin Chapman's thing, you know, hey, add lightness. You know, if you have something that doesn't weigh much and you got a motor, I mean, it's going to go. You know, I'm going to advocate, look, if that's something you want to get into, buy it. Have fun with it. You know, don't listen to what other people say. It's your car. You know, not everyone's going to appreciate it, but you're going to have people that do appreciate it. I mean, to me, I'd appreciate it. But hey, you're going to have fun with it. You know, it's getting you in there and you're getting the experience, you're getting that ownership of it and trying it out. And then you have that. And hey, God willing, you sell that, you move up, you move up, you know, and you just keep going, kind of upgrading your car. You know, it's just a great experience and meeting the people that are in it. You know, join the Ferrari Owners Club, and you know, you have all the events. You go there. Trust me, they're not going to shun you just because you show up in a '76, you know, GT4. No, they're going to, you know, welcome you with open arms, and it's just being part of that group. You know, it gets you in, and I don't look at it. I think they're great cars. I mean, that's just me.
Do you see any particular, I mean, as you look at all the Ferraris you kind of have your hands, you know, dipped in, do you see any of them that you kind of go, man, this one is silent and this one's going to take off soon in value, or are they all kind of hovering at the same amount and they're all kind of going up in value and they drop and they go up in value all evenly type? Or is there one that kind of takes off?
Well,
I mean, F40, I get it.
yeah, I mean, specific model, no. But if you want something that's going to do it, it's a gated 6-speed manual. I mean, right there. So you go and something like that. I mean, like right now, like looking at a 360 manual compared to the F1 transmission, you're almost spending $100,000 more for that 6-speed. And 5-6 years ago, you're probably paying maybe 20, 30 grand extra. But I mean, just now, because they're getting so far removed from having manual transmissions, it's just becoming more unique and rare. Any Ferrari that's got a gated 6-speed, I mean, that just goes up in value. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, not to toot my horn, whatever, but I've been looking at a 360 acquire, and you look at, about 20 to 30,000 miles on it, belt service, everything's done. F1 transmission, you're under $100,000. Gated 6-speed, you're at about 170, 160. Wow. And that's it, so, and obviously you want services or anything like that, but I mean, it's going up, and you go to a 550, going something like that, front engine one, same thing, it's going into it. But if you want to get something that's going to hold its value and go up in value, and you can afford it, get a gated 6-speed. And plus the other fact is don't have to worry about anyone stealing it, because any of these car thieves these days don't know how to drive a manual.
True. Hey, tell us a little bit about this event coming up here next year, the Rock-N-Rev event. Kind of bring us up to speed on that. What's going on in the Cleveland area with that?
Well, about a year ago, I was at the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix, and I go to Amelia Island, Pelvic every year, and it always kind of back. It's like you'll putting on one of those types of events. I mean, scale scope of one of those. But it's like, in the Cleveland area, and you take a pin, put it in the Cleveland area, and you go, 300 miles around. Really, the only big thing is the Pittsburgh Vintage Grand Prix. And other than that, you really don't have much. I mean, I know Hagerty now is doing the one they're going to have in downtown Detroit next year. So it's starting to expand. But other than that, you really don't have much. And I was just, honestly, it was the middle of summer. I was out in my front yard, and it kind of all of a sudden, just one of those moments you have that,
epiphany,
and just bam, it's like, God, we should have it at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Because if you do a Google, if you've ever been to Cleveland, if you do an aerial shot of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and you see it's right on the lakefront, you got the Great Lakes Science Center for it. You have all this area, the Brown Stadium's there, all this area to utilize. It's perfect for an event. And I just made a couple phone calls to call the city, called a couple other things, called the Rock Hall. Hey, what are you guys' thoughts? Everyone's like, love the idea. It's great. Let's, we'd be on board. So it just kind of snowballed from there. And I'm also a wish granter with Make-A-Wish, and I also volunteer for one of the entities that this is helping support, because basically the main goal is to raise money for Make-A-Wish, the Cleveland Clinic Pediatric Oncology Department, and then Island Safe Harbor Animal Sanctuary. So I work with Make-A-Wish, and I also volunteer at the Animal Sanctuary. So that's kind of how they let's raise money for them. It's for a good cause. And it just, everything fell into place, and it just made sense. And it's kind of one of those things. And as I tell people, it makes it sound like I'm being egotistical, and I hate that, because it's not like, I'm not saying like I'm some brilliant guy. Hey, I came up with this awesome idea. It made sense, and everyone talked to, like, why hasn't this been done sooner? It just made sense.
Yeah.
And especially for downtown Cleveland, end of July, there's really not much going on. The weather's fantastic. It just made sense. And for what city of Cleveland trying to do with promoting itself, especially, they call it the North Coast Harbor area district, is what that whole area is, and trying to promote it more and expand it more. It just fit in with what the city's trying to promote also. So it just all kind of fell into place, and it's just going to be a fun, phenomenal event. As I tell people, it's a concourse level event, just not as stuffy, because it's basically, the theme is how cars and music influence one another. We're going to have a concert Saturday evening in front of the Rock Hall, because they have in the summer, they set up a stage. So we're going to have a concert out front there. It's free to the public, because we really can't close off anything and charge tickets. So it's a free event, people to come down. So we're going to have events inside the event to raise money. And that we have a 1972 Corvette we're going to be raffling off. That's for the Animal Sanctuary. We're going to be doing stuff because the Brown Stadium's right next door, and the Haslams, who own the Browns, are involved in this also. Sunday morning, we're doing a Cars and Coffee. Haggerty's coming in to sponsor that. We're trying to get an OEM in because on the backside, there's a huge parking lot. We're going to try and do some sort of ride and drive type thing. Nelson Ledges Road Course, which has been here forever out on the east side of Cleveland. We're getting them involved in trying to do something, just autocross wise something. So we're going to have a lot of these cool things going on within the event itself. Then not to mention, we're also getting this raise a sponsorship where you can get into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame at the Science Center that weekend for free. So you get to go into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and check out all the cool stuff they got going on there. So it's just going to be a fantastic weekend, a lot of fun stuff to do. So it's going to be real exciting.
So it'll be a weekend event. So people can come down if they're from out of the area, stay, and you probably have a list of hotels and stuff in the area where they can stay. And then there's probably an entry fee to bring and display your car, and that money probably is going to be going to some of the charity events, charities, I should say.
Yeah, correct. Well, and obviously, you go to some of these arcades, they have motorcycles, but
sure.
we're also going to have motorcycles. We're also going to have boats. So I know like Keels and Wheels down in Texas, they do a thing, but there's a marina that's right behind the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Right.
Look at the thing. It's a whole like circular thing. There's, the marina's there. There's this cool drawbridge that goes over to the park that's right on the water where it can have. So it's like a big loop circle that you can do to check out everything. So we're going to have all different things in each spot, with the Science Center kind of going for where cars are going. We're going to try and get like Lucid, Rivian, Tesla, one of those, or a few of them involved in where the car's headed, self-driving cars, but just with electrification of cars, we're going to have that kind of displayed there. But also we got the Crawford involved, they have fabulous vehicles they're going to bring in, but they also have planes, and Burke Lakefront Airport's right there too. So we're going to bring in some old airplane engines, fire those things up, so it's just going to be a lot of unique things. So yeah, it starts Friday evening. We're going to do I want to say black tie, but it's going to be a
dinner,
formal dinner, silent auction. Original plans was going to be at the Rock Hall. Rock Hall's doing a nice, big, huge expansion, which starts this year. So we're going to actually have it in the Browns Stadium. They got a fabulous facility to utilize there. So we're going to have that dinner Friday evening, kick things off. And then obviously Saturday roll in, start having those events going on. We have the concert going on Saturday evening. The Cars and Coffee event, from about 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. Sunday morning. We're going to try and do also, as presents with the Cleveland Clinic's pediatric oncology department, also being one of the things we're trying to support. They do these teddy bear runs, these motorcycle groups. They get hundreds of guys. And what they do is they start at a point and they drive to the hospital, donate teddy bears or donate whatever to all the kids that are going through one of the worst times in their lives and do that. So we're going to try and do something where like around 10, 11 Sunday morning, they all take off from a certain point from the stadium or something and take the teddy bears to the stadium, then judge. So we still have a lot more time to get a lot more stuff put together for it, but that's kind of what the plan is. And so anyone out there wants to help sponsor or whatnot, reach out to me. Go to rockandrevscleveland.com. It's like rock and roll, but rock and revs. Check it out. You can sign up. Don't hold it against me. The website that's up now is something I did. I'm not a web designer. I got someone working on a more permanent one. I'm one of those people. I know my limitations, but check out the website. It kind of gives you a little more insight and gives you an overview and shows you where it's going to be at in the whole 9 yards.
Good. So like you said, it is rock ROCK, the letter N, and REV.com.
No, it's ROCKNREVS Cleveland.com.
Oh, Cleveland.com. Okay.
Now, if you just go to rockandrevs.com, it'll take you to the site. So you can go either way. So
okay,
it'll get you there too. So yeah, it's on there because honestly, my big thoughts is like, we could do these in other cities like down in Memphis. Cities that have a very musically oriented stuff like that. So you can do them in other areas, but right now we're just focusing on Cleveland because the Rock Hall's there.
Yeah, think about it. You can do Austin during F1 week or something like that. Who knows, right?
Exactly. So it can spread around because as everyone knows, you look at like the Beach Boys and that stuff. A lot of musicians that are into cars big time. Look at Brian Johnson. He's racing the 24 Hours of Daytona. He's a massive car. But look at Sam Hagar. He's a big car. He's a huge Ferrari guy.
Right.
They've had shows on Access TV and that stuff where doing that stuff where it's music and cars related. So it just goes hand in hand. It's kind of one of those things. And kind of going back, like I said, I don't want to sound like I'm tooting my own horn, but it just made sense to do it. So it's just going to be a lot of fun.
No, yeah, no. I think it sounds like you guys are onto something. And I know that that area there of Cleveland, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So it is ideal for what you guys are planning. So yeah, good for you. That's great, man.
Yeah.
That'll be a good thing.
Everything it says right on the lakefront. I mean, they said it's the last weekend in July 28th through 30th, 2023 is the inaugural event. Mark it on your calendars, put it on there. Say go to the website, sign up for it. Get on the email blast list, and we'll keep you up to date on everything.
Yeah. And I'll put the website in case somebody misses it. I'll put it in the show notes so they can kind of grab it from there. Okay. Well, tell people or let us know if they want to reach you, William, to talk about maybe my next Ferrari purchase or I need you to hunt me down a 250 LM.
It's easy enough. You just go, it's the FerrariMarketplace.com. And then if you want to just email me directly, it's just William at the FerrariMarketplace.com. The main thing is, if someone's, if you're buying your first one or your 10th one, the biggest thing is, the first question to ask yourself, what are my intentions? What do I want to do with this car? Is it just something you're going to go out on Sundays and putz around, or are you going to go do, rally events? You want to do the cars and cars. I mean, what's your main goal and what you want to do with this car is the biggest question you have to ask yourself. Is it just going to be you and your wife? Or do you need to have more space? Do you need to carry luggage? It's just kind of ask you those questions. And then you start narrowing it down, to what you want to have. Like I said before, the gated 6-speeds, are becoming more and more valuable. But a lot of people, I want to say a lot, but some people just, especially if you're in traffic, the F1 transmission, when you put them in automatic, are fantastic. So if you're going to be doing some, long distance driving, whatnot, I mean, you just got to look at what you're doing and reach out to me if you got questions. Like I said, I'm more than happy to help anyone. And even if it's something that, I'm not involved in, somehow someone help, but if I can steer you in the right direction and answer any question you have, I'm more than happy to help someone, get themselves into this, get into the Ferrari family, I guess you'd say.
Yeah, so, and that's a good point. It is to help people get into the Ferrari family. So if you're in the market or thinking or sniffing around possibly about getting involved in with a Ferrari, and you don't have to be in the Cleveland area, you can be anywhere. You can reach out to William, and William will be able to kind of steer you in the right direction and give you guidance. And like in many cases, William's the kind of guy that what he does is the repeat business. I mean, he's not one and done. I mean, he wants to keep you in the fold so that you come back for when you get in 2 months when you're burnt out of that Ferrari, you want to get another one. I think 2 months, but if after you've had one for a while and you want to move on. And again, it could be anybody that's looking, if you want to buy a Ferrari that you're going to be putting in a plastic inflatable bubble in your garage and just looking at it and never driving it. Or if you're going to be a guy that wants to take it out and you don't care if you get road chip little dents on the hood and things like that, because you're going to drive it and enjoy it and use the car for what it's meant to be. I mean,
cars are meant to be driven.
Cars are meant to be driven. That's how I feel too. I mean, it's funny because you get people that are like, oh no, I spent so much money on this paint job, I can't take the car out. Well,
well, that's what ceramic coating or PPF score. There's ways around it, but the car is made to be driven. That's what it's for. It's a car. It's a beautiful car. I mean, but they're made to be driven. They're made to be enjoyed. I mean, park it in your garage, and it's nice if you middle of the night right before you go to bed, peek your head and go, oh wow, okay, I own it. That's awesome. But you want to go out and drive the thing.
Exactly. No, I get it. I totally get it. Well, anyway, hey, thanks so much, man, for being on. I appreciate it. Anything you want to share? Any last comments you have for folks out there?
Yeah, you need to straighten up your garage, man. That thing's cluttered.
I have a 2-car garage. I've got so much crap in here, but I didn't have 2 cars in here. My son's car is the blue one, and with COVID, everybody working from home. My wife works from home. My older son works from home, and of course, the next resort, the next level for me would have been to be on the dinner table and work, right? Yeah. But so I got booted out to the garage. Yeah. So hence Ed's Auto Garage started in the garage here. So
yeah. No, I get that. So, it's when everything was going on, my wife was working from home. It was kind of a little tricky for me because I got kicked out of my area because she kind of needed it. And so it's like, I'm talking to people walking around my house trying to find a spot to do it. My daughter's in her thing trying to schoolwork and everything like that. Yeah. So Dad's the one that gets the short and says, hey, you go figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Well, anyway, thanks so much, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for hopping on. And we'll make sure we get all your information out on the show notes. So everybody just stay tuned for the show notes. And yeah. And, if you're a Ferrari, looking for a Ferrari, William's your guy. Thanks, man.
See you guys.
All right. What's the dog's name?
This is Dasher. He's
Dasher. All right.
He came from Island Safe Harbor Animal Sanctuary. He's a rescue.
He's a rescue. Very cool.
Yep.
Very good. See you, Dasher. All right. See you, William. Thanks, man.